Oh dear. Alright, so here's about what it looks like. I used the sandpaper attachment on the Dremel in order to make things a bit more crisp. Now nothing's really burred, it's not really gonna cut you, not that it really would before, but now it just looks a bit cleaner. Now, obviously there's some things that I can't do, I can't fix. For example, the little square notch, okay? Now once you put the mesh on, this isn't really gonna matter. But if you go over to the other side, exactly the same, there is not. It was hand done, it's a little bit inconsistent. If you wanted it to be done the same every time, you would have a machine do this, you would have done it right the first time. That's a jab at Thermaltake, not a jab at you modders. I think modders would sit there and understand and be like, okay, well, really, what does it do? So I cleaned up all of this, I've opened it all up. There's a little bit here where I'm going to need to take a file and just kind of, give it a little bit more love. Because as you can see where things lie, not that any of this is really going to be visible anyways. Some things have changed a little bit. As you may notice, there's more of these. They're a little bit shorter. They're not all exactly the same height, which is fine because we accounted for that and plan on taking advantage of it. I don't know what you want to say. But anyways, we got more of these, cut them all down. Not exactly half, in case you were wondering. The distance between this top and that bottom is 18 1/4 inches. I don't know what that is in millimeters or centimeters. So the plan of action here is that now we've got 8 of these, 4 for each side, to make this kind of rounded edge. And we also have some washers. These are just little plastic spacer washers that we're going to glue to the ends here to kind of even out that gap. We're going to need to file down the edges because I rough cut it with a Dremel, and that's not the best way to cut this. If you were to cut this on your own, you may consider a hand saw. After that, we are going to JB weld it. Now, for those of you who have no idea what JB weld is, I can tell you that this stuff has quite the reputation for permanently adhering things better than super or Gorilla Glue. It is a 2-part epoxy. You shouldn't be doing it inside, but we've got pretty well ventilation in here. We'll probably, if it's bad, you'll know because the background's going to change. So there's that. Not much else to say. JB weld's not something that you put directly on the whatchamacallit because it's 2-part. We've got this to put the JB weld on, mix it together, and then adhere it to our metal dowels or washers, and then we will JB weld it. So there's going to be multiple gluing sessions. Without further ado, let's get to finishing up these rough edges. Oh yeah, by the way, you should also clean these before you do anything with them. The glue and the paint will thank you. Just wipe them down real nice and easy. So what I've done here is whenever you cut something by hand, you're going to mess up. Like, it's going to happen. So about 4 of these are not quite perfect, but they're perfect to the point where I can fit them well enough. The other 4, on the other hand, are not perfect and not perfect to fit well enough at all. Fortunately, I came up with a backup plan. I've got little washers here. And these are just little plastic spacer washers. They're 2 different colors, but ultimately they're the same thickness, they're the same diameter, they're really just the same, they're just 2 different colors. So what I'm going to do with these washers is just to help adhere things better. I'm going to take the washers on these metal dowels, and I'm going to insert the washer at the end here. On some of them, there's going to be a little bit less, so I'm going to see if I can't space it a little bit farther in order to give me a little bit more leeway and leniency for fitting this properly. There's going to be one at the top and one at the bottom. These ones that are mostly fitted appropriately, they're going to get the washers as well, but it's going to be a lot quicker to do because they're closer to the cut. Ideally, what the good way of doing this would just go get more dowels, but I'm here now, so that's not going to happen. This JB Weld supposedly adheres extremely fast, and I should be wearing gloves with it. For those of you looking to be using JB Weld, use gloves, because otherwise you may not get fingers that work anymore. They might be permanently affixed to something. That would be concerning. Oh dear. Alright. So just very simple, very easily, you take a little bit and very slowly and evenly, only the inside's coming out. Whoa! Not quite what I was going for. Alright, so these are all dry now. We cut it because we figured you guys weren't going to be entertained by watching paint dry. I mean, it's glue, but same concept. So now just getting them up very carefully, just kind of twist it a little bit, make sure the glue isn't, stuck to the paper. Make sure that's not really going anywhere, which these aren't. These are really incredibly set. I gotta say, I'm pretty freaking impressed with this. I have fixed 6 of them out of 8. I'd say those are good numbers, so let's get back to it. Same thing, but just on the other side. Time to let this dry. Some more. This is just a mock-up. Obviously, these are going to get glued in place. This is how it's going to look, just to give it that sort of rigidity. Because obviously, if you take enough material out, you need to replace it with some sort of support. So in the bottom here, it's all going to get glued into place. JB Weld, obviously, because that's what I've used on all the other bits. And then this is about how it's going to look, and the other side is going to look exactly the same. They've been measured out. It's pretty great. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this update. This is how it looks. Let me know what you think.